byiza kuri mwe mwese mukomeje gukurikirana gahunda za televiziyo y'u Rwanda. Nizere ko mumeze neza aho muri mwese. Gahunda za televiziyo y'u Rwanda zikomereje ahangaha muri Kigali Convention Center, ahatangiye imirimo y'inama mpuzamahanga ku cyorezo cya sida, inama mpuzamahanga ku cyorezo cya sida ku mugabane wa Afurika izwi nka ikasa mu magambo ahinnye y'icyongereza. Ni inama ihurije hamwe delegation cyangwa se intumwa zaturutse mu bihugu bisaga 150, bakaba ari abantu bagera hafi ku bihumbi 10 bateraniye hano i Kigali. Bariga ku cyorezo cya sida, barareba urugendo umuryango mpuzamahanga by'umwihariko umugabane wa Afurika umaze gukora mu guhangana n'iki cyorezo, hanyuma n'ingamba zafatwa kugira ngo harusheho gukorwa ibishoboka byose hahanganwe mu guhangana n'iki cyorezo. Ndi mubazi Minisita, tubahaye ikaze.
Murakoze.
Turagira ngo tubabaze leta y'u Rwanda yakiriye iyi nama, kuri mwebwe ni inama musanga mwitezeho iki?
Ni inama nini cyane ihuza abantu batandukanye bakora mu bijyanye kurwanya indwara ya sida ariko n'izindi ndwara zandurira mu mibonano mpuzabitsina. Inama twiteze rero ko dushobora kungurana inama ukuntu dushobora kurushaho gukomeza ingamba no kunoza ingamba zo kurwanya icyo cyorezo.
Uyu munsi haraganirwa wenda ku buryo bwagutse mu rwego mpuzamahanga, ariko turebe ku ruhande rw'u Rwanda. Twavuga ko ku ruhande rw'u Rwanda iki cyorezo cyaba gifite iyihe shusho?
Ubu kugeza ubu ngubu urebye mu bantu bari hagati y'imyaka 15 kugeza 64, usanga abageze kuri 3% bafite indwara babana n'uburwayi bwa sida. Ariko ikintu kimwe kigaragara kinashimishije ni uko mu Rwanda mu bantu bose dukeka ko bashobora kuba baranduye 84% bazi uko bahagaze. Muri abo ngabo 98% bari ku miti, kandi muri abo ngabo bari ku miti 90% virusi zabo ntabwo zikigaragara.
Please be seated. Thank you. Your Excellency Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellency Filipe Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique, Excellencies, First Ladies, Excellencies, Heads of International Organizations, Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Anshtaina Ndizeye. It is an honor to be your Master of Ceremonies today. As a medical student and a young woman, being on the 20th ICASA is a great honor. This is the biggest forum on AIDS and STIs on the continent, and one of the biggest in the world. I am certain that the outcomes of this gathering will contribute to an AIDS-free Africa, and we will be there to witness it. So, welcome to the opening ceremony of the 20th edition of ICASA. To begin our opening ceremony, I wish to invite Professor John Idoko, President of ICASA 2019 and the Society of AIDS in Africa, to give his welcome remarks, followed by Honorable Dr. Diane Gashumba, Rwanda's Minister of Health and ICASA 2019 Vice President. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, President Paul Kagame, Your Excellency, the President of Mozambique, Apologies. So good afternoon once more. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, President Paul Kagame, Your Excellency, the President of Mozambique, President Filipe Nyusi, Her Excellency, the First Lady of Rwanda, Mrs. Janet Kagame, and all other First Ladies present, Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome all of you on behalf of the Board of the Society for AIDS in Africa, the co-organizers of this important conference, to the 20th ICASA, holding in the beautiful city of Kigali. Let me start by first expressing our sincere gratitude on behalf of the Board of the Society for AIDS in Africa to His Excellency President Kagame and his government for their support, without which this conference would not have taken place. We are grateful to Kigali, the Rwandese people, for their very warm welcome and hospitality. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate Winnie Byanyima, the new UNA's Executive Director, and to reiterate the Society for AIDS in Africa looks forward to you to provide the much needed leadership as we continue the journey to end AIDS by 2030. According to the UNAIDS 2019 report, we have continued to make gains and progress in the last 4 decades in the fight against this epidemic. But these gains are getting smaller from year to year. We have witnessed a steady progress in the reduction of AIDS-related deaths, but efforts to reach the 2020 targets for reduction in HIV infections are clearly off track. Therefore, the HIV pandemic is likely to remain a major global challenge for the foreseeable future. Millions of people will require sustained access to antiretroviral therapy. More efforts will be required to prevent resurgence of HIV among the large and ever-increasing population of young people, especially in Africa, and the need to intensify efforts to address the high prevalence among key population in many of our countries. This year's conference in Kigali is held under the theme AIDS-Free Africa through innovation, community, and political leadership. This theme brings into sharp focus our commitment as a continent, and with support from our bilateral and multilateral partners, the need to be innovative and inclusive if we are to end AIDS by holding ourselves to account to achieve our set targets. The theme also builds up from Africa's efforts and aspirations of the past 4 decades in the fight against HIV, and is meant to renew the continent's commitment by drawing attention to the fact that the legacy of ending AIDS by 2030 is now under threat as a result of the widening gap between resource needs and resource availability due to significant declines at global and national levels. We therefore urge all our partners to step up action to invest in the response, and we call on our governments to seek domestic solutions for a more sustainable response on the continent. Communities remain the epicenter of Africa's response. This is reinforced by this year's World AIDS Day theme, Communities Make a Difference. It is imperative, therefore, that we continue to focus on community systems strengthening for health to achieve efficiency and accountability of the health system, as well as realizing constitutional rights of citizens' health through adequate resource allocation. I've learned a lot of lessons from the multi-sectoral, multi-stakeholder AIDS response, including engagement of civil societies, which are key to progress across sustainable development goals and achieving universal health coverage. We've seen extraordinary knowledge, skills, and expertise that have been built, new ways of implementation, and embedding evidence-based practice. Its response, therefore, has garnered substantial experience for integration into other infectious diseases and sexual and reproductive health, and also addressing entrenched social norms, social exclusion, and legal barriers that undermine health and development outcomes. The threat posed by non-communicable diseases and emerging infections cannot be overemphasized. And this conference remains alive to the need to continuously create space for candid discussions around these diseases, as well as utilizing the over 3 decades of experience gained in fighting HIV to craft strategies to respond to these new threats. Let me thank, in my concluding remarks, the partners and sponsors of this conference who have always supported ICASA through the years. Our thanks also go to all our dear delegates, for without you there is no conference. We must express special appreciation to the Board of the Society for AIDS in Africa, the Ministry of Health of Rwanda, the Rwandan Convention Bureau, who worked tirelessly to ensure that we host this conference with a success. We also thank the international steering committees that did all the planning initially for this conference. We thank also the CASA conference director and the secretariat. We thank the media and all those of you who directly or indirectly have contributed to the successful organization of the 20th ICASA. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Your Excellency, Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellency, Philippe Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique, Excellencies, First Ladies, Heads of Delegations, distinguished guests, I greet you and welcome you to Rwanda. My country is very delighted to host this very important conference. In organizing this conference and in combating HIV. ICASA is an opportunity for Africans to learn from each other and to join together with those working in the field of HIV. In Rwanda, our fight against the HIV/AIDS epidemic is grounded in the principle that those affected should be at the center of the response. For example, the integration of HIV treatment into maternal and child services has led to more equitable access to prevention and treatment. 91% of the Rwandan population is covered by a health insurance. 99% of pregnant women are tested for HIV. 95% of our kids are fully vaccinated, and early infant diagnosis is fully integrated into this service. As per the UNAIDS recent report, 97% of HIV positive people in Rwanda are on treatment. And 90% are suppressing the viral loads. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my leadership, the leadership of President Kagame, in collaboration with the partners. In close collaboration with our dear partners, we have managed to put our people at the center of each intervention that is being made in the health sector and in other sectors. Yesterday, we celebrated the World AIDS Day, and this was done through a mass sport exercise across the country. Thanks to the thousands of young people, including our First Lady, including Dr. Tedros, who joined this exercise. This exercise was beyond sport. It was about health. It was about combating non-communicable diseases. Thanks to all the youth for the vibrant and interactive pre-conference we had yesterday, and thanks to the First Ladies for the very inspiring messages we got this morning during their conference. Excellencies, distinguished guests, we must continue to collaborate closely and not rest until we have a generation without AIDS in Africa. Before I conclude, je voudrais vous demander, quand vous visitez les health facilities au Rwanda, quand vous visitez les drones, joignez l'utile à l'agréable. Visitez nos parcs, visitez les gorilles, savourez nos montagnes, nos volcans, savourez les 310 espèces d'oiseaux rares qui sont au Rwanda, 1000 types de plantes au Rwanda, savourez Kigali by night. Il y a la sécurité. La sécurité est assurée. Visitez Kigali, joignez l'utile à l'agréable. Le ministère de la Santé, en collaboration avec le Rwanda Development Board, nous sommes là pour vous guider. Nous sommes là pour faire en sorte que votre séjour au Rwanda soit des plus agréables. Excellences, Monsieur le Président de la République, Excellencies, je vous remercie.
Thank you, Professor Idoko. Thank you, Minister Gashumba, for your remarks. It is now my pleasure to welcome to the stage our very own national ballet, Urukerereza, together with young talents from Nyundo School of Music for their performance.
belong together. We are meant to lift each other up. They say I am because you are. Then where would I go without my backbone? How would I move without your steps too? How would I reach my destiny without your hands combined with mine? I believe we have to live this life, live it and celebrate it. So let's hold hands and write books of humanity to create stories of acceptance, stories of love, stories of freedom, stories of our lives. Cette vie est faite pour vous et moi. Célébrons-la et montons ensemble. Toi et moi méritons la liberté d'aimer ce que nous sommes, aimer notre façon de vivre et de grandir. Maisha ni yetu, tuna haki ya kuishi vizuri. I sing for the victory of living. I dance because I know tomorrow doesn't look like yesterday. I write songs of liberty and poems of hope because I know I overcame a lot. And I move with confidence. We belong together, and we have to win this together. AIDS-free Africa.
So hear me out, let me in. Throw away your sad, sad feeling. Once you get up, won't stand up. Throw away your sad, sad feelings. Oh, let's life is a celebration. Celebration.
Freedom say I can make it. This race is not for the city. It's for the light that shines deep inside. Let me thank you for the garden, the one of love. Just like a tree planted by the rivers of water, we bring a full fruity June season. Oh, na ni na ni na na, na ni na ni na na, na ni na ni na na. Life is a celebration. Yeah. Na ni na ni na na, na ni na ni na na, na ni na ni na na. Life is a celebration.
Thank you very much, Urucherereza and Nyundo School of Music, for your vibrant performance. Allow me at this moment to invite Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization,
Amakuru. Muraho. Your Excellency, President Paul Kagame, Your Excellency, President Philippe Nyusi, Excellency, First Lady Gannet Kagame, Excellencies, First Ladies, and ICASA President, Professor John Idoko, Honorable Ministers, Ambassadors, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, and friends. First of all, I would like to say I'm really delighted to be home for this very important event. The theme of this year's conference is an AIDS-free Africa. This is a theme that once we would not have even dreamed of. We would have thought it was too ambitious, too presumptuous. But the fact that we now have a conference with a theme like this shows how far we have come. Rwanda is a perfect example. Of course, the minister had already said it. Allow me to repeat some of them, some of the figures. As you know, as the minister said, more than 90% living with HIV in this country know their status. With almost all of them, 98% are on life-saving treatment. Of those, 90% have achieved viral suppression. So this leads us to believe, and that makes Rwanda one of the few countries to achieve the 90-90-90 targets prior to 2020. New HIV infections and AIDS-related deaths have dropped by more than half over the last decade. The progress here in Rwanda is nothing short of incredible, but it's not alone. Globally, of the 37.9 million people living with HIV at the end of last year, more than 80% now know their status. More than 60% receive treatment, and more than half have achieved viral suppression. the number equals overall progress in Africa, where 75% of all people with HIV live. Millions of people are on treatment. Even better, millions of people are not on treatment because they have the tools to protect themselves. We have accelerated research and development. We have pushed back the boundaries of science and are now in hot pursuit of a cure. We have championed the rights of the most marginalized and vulnerable. And all of this has enabled us to dream of an AIDS-free world. It's a team that reflects the ambition of the Sustainable Development Goals to end the AIDS epidemic by 2030. This is an ambition to which WHO is firmly committed. But we must be realistic. Numerous challenges stand between us and the realization of that dream. The gains we have made are under threat, with the signs of wavering political commitment and declining funding. In 2080, 770,000 people died from HIV and 1.7 million people were newly infected, and the vast majority of these cases and deaths occurred here in our continent. We know who these people are. Over half of people newly infected with HIV belong to key populations groups and their partners, such as and prisoners. In this region, young people are the most vulnerable, especially adolescent girls, who account for 3 in 4 of new infections. We have the tools to prevent these new infections, like PrEP, condoms, and voluntary medical male circumcision. But more effort is needed to improve access and uptake of these tools alongside antiretroviral therapy. Testing and treatment efforts neglect the needs of our children. Half of the children living with HIV lack access to testing and treatment, with coverage levels lower than among adults. Of children receiving treatment, 2 in 3 are on suboptimal medicine. The question is, what do we need to do to overcome these challenges? The theme of this conference doesn't only give us the vision of an AIDS-free Africa, it also tells us how to get there: innovation, community, and political leadership. Allow me to finish with 3 challenges for all of us in each of these 3 areas. First, innovation. Innovation has brought us this far in the fight against HIV, and innovation is essential for overcoming the obstacles we still face. We need better treatments, better diagnostics, and we still need an HIV vaccine. But we also need innovative ways of delivering services to reach key populations and marginalized communities, to retain people in prevention and treatment services, and for those with HIV to promote lifetime adherence to treatment. WHO guidelines now recommend the simplest, most innovative ways to deliver person-centered HIV testing, treatment, care, and support, integrated with other health services. Second, community. Since the early days of HIV, communities of affected people have been the driving force of the response, and we all know this. And they must continue to be. New tools can only be effective if they are developed with and embraced by the people who need them. I have seen many of these communities in action, from mentor mothers in Lesotho to community pharmacists in Nigeria and adolescent treatment supporters in Zimbabwe. Our job as leaders is to listen to what these communities are telling us they need, rather than telling them what they need they should have. That is the meaning of people-centered care. But we also need to address the full range of health needs. We must give children pediatric ARVs alongside vaccinations for measles and hepatitis B. We must give women testing services for HIV and syphilis, but also for breast cancer. We must offer men who have sex with men PrEP, but also services for mental health. We must give communities condoms, but also smoking cessation services. And we must do it all as part of an overarching commitment to universal health coverage. Which brings me to the third challenge, political leadership. I know from my own experience that support from the highest levels of government is essential for making real progress. That's what enabled us to make progress in Ethiopia. And that's one of the key lessons here in Rwanda. The results you have achieved would not have been possible without Your Excellency's vision and leadership, not only for HIV, but for universal health coverage. Your Excellency, President Kagame, please accept my respect and appreciation for your strong commitment and leadership, not only to HIV, but to universal health coverage. This is the kind of leadership we need in every nation. And it is the kind of leadership that's now building here in Africa and around the world. At the African Union Summit earlier this year, countries committed to increasing domestic investment in health and to being accountable for that commitment. And that committee was led by President Kagame. And at the United Nations General Assembly in September, all 193 UN member states approved the political declaration on universal health coverage. By the way, the two complement each other. The February AU call to action and the political declaration of the UN. And 3 weeks later, at the Inter-Parliamentary Union Assembly in Belgrade, Serbia legislators from 140 countries adopted a global resolution to translate that political commitment into reality. Of course, commitments, declarations, and resolutions are only pieces of paper unless they are implemented. But without them, we cannot make the progress we need at the pace we need it. Excellencies, my brothers and sisters, the SDGs give us the mandate to work together for an AIDS-free world. With innovation, community engagement, and strong political leadership, we can make that vision a reality. I thank you. Murakoze cyane. Murakoze cyane. Thank you.
I'm honored to invite His Excellency Felipe Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique, to deliver his address.
Sua Excelência Paulo Kagame, então, ia convidar para ir todos a tradução. Canal 3, number 3.
Channel 1 is English, Channel 3 is Portuguese. Channel 1 is English, Channel 3 is Portuguese. Your Excellency Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda. The first ladies here present, distinguished members of the governments here present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Of all the human rights, we can claim the most basic and primary is the right to a decent life, a dignified life. My first remarks are of gratitude to His Excellency President Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, for honoring me with the invitation
para tomar
to
parte
take
na
part
20ª Cimeira
in this
Internacional
20th
sobre
of the
SIDA e
session
infecções de
of
transmissão
the
sexual.
International Conference on AIDS and
África.
Sexually Transmitted Infections in Africa.
Agradecemos igualmente
I'm also
pela
grateful
calorosa
to address Your Excellencies
partilhando os
and
desafios de
share the
Moçambique em
challenges of
relação
Mozambique with
ao
regards
SIDA
to AIDS
e doenças
and
transmissíveis.
infectious diseases in Mozambique.
Ao acolher este evento,
In hosting this event,
Rwanda
Rwanda
transmite uma mensagem
conveys a
forte
clear and strong message
sobre a necessidade
on the
de
need
congregarmos
to gather efforts
para
to eradicate this scourge of in the health sector that can undermine the dreams and projects of a prosperous Africa.
A cada 2 anos,
Every 2 years,
oferece-nos
ICASA
oportunidade
provides us with an
de
opportunity
juntos refletirmos sobre os
to come
progressos,
together and reflect on the progress, challenges, and constraints that our government grapple with in the framework of the combat of these to this scourge. On the other hand, these meetings also serve as a platform to mobilize more African leadership and the entire international community to reaffirm our commitment through concrete actions against HIV and AIDS. Mozambique is one of the most affected countries by HIV and AIDS in sub-Saharan Africa. Therefore, in addition to drawing experience, we have come to Kigali to reaffirm the determination of our government to combat HIV and AIDS pandemic and the proliferation of infectious diseases until the eradication out of more than 37 million people living with HIV by 2018, 68% are in Africa. It is curious that sub-Saharan Africa also represented the region where more progress was recorded in terms of the number of patients under antiretroviral treatment and reduction of new HIV infections over the past years. For Mozambique, these indicators are a result of efforts by the government and the society at large in combating new infections and in antiretroviral therapy and in the prevention of mother-to-child transmission, among other measures. Despite being insignificant, these figures are the result of many sacrifices and decisions for austerity that our economies require at this particularly difficult moment that the country is faced with. Mr. President Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, Excellencies, dear participants, we welcome the challenging theme of this conference, AIDS Free Africa, innovation, community and political leadership, because it draws our attention on the need for quick and sustainable control of this pandemic within the framework of the global agenda and sustainable development goals. To meet this global challenge, Mozambique has introduced in 1999 the National HIV and AIDS Strategic Response Plan, and in 2000 the National Council on AIDS Prevention and Combating was established, and this council comprises private sector and civil society representatives and individuals of recognized merit as a national response coordinating body. The establishment of this body stemmed from the understanding that a medical response should be accompanied by a multi-sector approach, integrating cultural, economic, political, and social factors. Mozambique has adopted the strategy of UNAIDS joint program and the guidelines of the World Health Organization and mainstreamed, domesticated them in its HIV and AIDS national response strategy and in its national norms and policies. As an example, we have domesticated the concept of priority population made up of vulnerable population and key populations in recognition of the existence of groups in a more serious risk of infection and disproportionately more affected. In the area of prevention, the plan embraced the approach of HIV combined prevention. Equally, we have adopted UNAIDS 1990 strategy as a way of accelerating antiretroviral treatment by more Mozambicans living with HIV and AIDS and stop HIV transmission, and we have assumed the guideline test and initiate of the World Health Organization, which aims to provide immediate access to treatment for any HIV-positive person. As a result of these efforts, about 1,300,000 Mozambicans are under antiretroviral treatment. With these measures, in 2018, we recorded less than 24% of AIDS-related deaths, as compared to the beginning of 2015, when we started our governing cycle. The mother-to-child transmission prevention program is available in all health facilities. All pregnant women attended in antenatal consultation know their HIV status and are now benefiting from this treatment as soon as it becomes necessary. In 2018, we also launched the national campaign Free to Shine through the Office of the Spouse of the President of the Republic, a continental initiative of the first ladies, the first spouses, with the support of the African Union and partners. The objective of this campaign is to galvanize efforts and support individual and provide collective understanding of action to leverage the provision and effective use of health services and other resources to end child AIDS by 2020. We associate to this initiative the elimination of congenital syphilis and hepatitis B in an approach called triple elimination, intended to eliminating HIV and congenital syphilis and hepatitis B in Mozambican children. Unfortunately, despite all efforts and progress mentioned earlier on, close to 1 million Mozambicans do not have access to antiretroviral treatment, and we continue to lose our fellow citizens due to HIV-related deaths. Retention in healthcare has been a major challenge, as only 70% of patients remain in care and treatment after 12 months of treatment, according to the latest data. Structural barriers are still prevalent, including stigma and discrimination and cultural practices that increase vulnerability among key and vulnerable populations, and it limits the access to prevention, testing, care, and treatment services. Excellencies, distinguished participants, if we want to end HIV epidemic, we must, as the Director General of the World Health Organization, we must invest in innovation. To innovate, we need relevant and quality information, and part of this information will come from documentation of best practices that we have achieved so far, as well as from scientific research. We need leadership capable of conveying the right message and mobilize our brothers and sisters first to prevent HIV and AIDS, and then to follow antiretroviral treatment. We should recognize the great merit of the community approach and its potential to develop solutions. Communities have an added responsibility in retaining patients in care and treatment through their contribution in the improvement of the quality of services and support to patients at household level and in communities themselves, and interventions in the fight against stigma and discrimination.
acima de tudo,
Above all,
de
we
liderança
need to
política
strengthen political
forte
leadership
a todos os
at
níveis.
all levels,
Uma liderança
a leadership
que lidera os
that
processos,
leads
mobiliza os
processes,
recursos a
mobilizes
aplicar
resources
para a implementação
required
das
for the
estratégias de
implementation
combate ao
of
HIV/SIDA,
strategies to
uma
fight
liderança
HIV and
africana
AIDS, and African
comprometida
leadership
com a causa.
committed to the
Minhas senhoras e
cause.
meus senhores,
Ladies and gentlemen,
a investigação
research
e a inovação
and
devem
innovation
jogar igualmente
should
papel fundamental
equally play a key
para
role
incrementar a
to
cobertura,
increase
a
the
qualidade e a
coverage,
eficiência
quality,
do
and
sistema de
effectiveness
saúde
of
africano,
African
não
health
só.
system
A
and beyond.
investigação em
Health
saúde
research
realizada no
conducted on
continente
the
deve ser
continent
feita de forma
should be
colaborativa,
in a
mesmo com
collaborative
organismo
way, but
cada
with
vez maior de
an increasingly
cientistas
stronger
e
input from
instituições africanas.
African scientists
A
and
inovação
institutions.
tecnológica
Technological
entre
and
processos ao nível do
processes
sistema de
innovation
saúde
at the
é
level
uma
of
área que deve
the
também
health
merecer uma
system
atenção
is
especial
an area that
dos
should
governos
also
africanos.
deserve special attention by the African governments. For example, in Mozambique, we can cite the use of point-of-care technology, and that the implementation of these technological innovations impact positively on the clinical management of patients living with HIV. Evidence is produced by Mozambican institutions have guided the process of implementation of these technologies in our national health system, and they were used as the basis for updating technical directives of the World Health Organizations on this subject. To conclude, once again, I wish to congratulate my brother, President Kagame, who has become a champion in this subject, and I would like to congratulate and I wish him to continue this way. President Kagame and all organizers of this forum, which brings back hope and the right of to a dignified life to men and women. I wish all participants frank, fruitful, innovative, and open discussions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for reminding us the urgency of continuing the fight against AIDS on our continent. It is now my honor and privilege to invite our host, His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, to deliver his address. Your Excellency, you're welcome.
Excellency Philip Jacinto Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique, Excellencies, First Ladies, Excellencies, Heads of Delegation, Professor John Idoko, President of the Society for AIDS in Africa, and ICASA 2019 President, heads of international organizations, and special guests, Dr. Tedros, Director General of the World Health Organization, Winnie Byanyima, Executive Director of UNAIDS, Peter Sands, Executive Director of the Global Fund, Dr. Kaveruka, Global Fund Board Chair, Ambassador Deborah Bax, U.S. Global AIDS Coordinator, Marisol Torren, Unit Aid Board Chair, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I want to warmly welcome you to Rwanda for the 20th International Conference on AIDS and Sexually Transmitted Infectious Diseases in Africa. Please feel at home We are honored to have you here. And over the coming week, we will assess the progress made in Africa toward eliminating HIV and AIDS and related diseases. We are here to share experience and knowledge, but also deepen our collective solidarity to fight this devastating epidemic together. Allow me to recall a few key factors for success. First, open dialogue saves lives. When it comes to sexually transmitted infections, stigma and silence are real killers, just as much as the underlying viruses. Shame discourages people living with HIV from learning and accepting their status and accessing the health care needed to live a full life. ECASA exists in order to break down the taboos that impede prevention and early treatment. You are the ones to speak loudly and clearly. We have come too far in this struggle to do otherwise. Second, AIDS is an epidemic without borders. Much of the success in the campaign to halt the spread of the virus can be credited to global cooperation. It is therefore vital to continue raising the level of support for initiatives such as the Global Fund, Gavi, and PEPFAR, which have made such significant contributions. Governments in Africa, for their part, must prioritize domestic financing for healthcare. Doing so creates a sustainable, long-term foundation for these valuable partnerships. On this note, I would like to express our appreciation to the partners who have contributed to Rwanda's HIV control efforts over the years. We look forward to continue working with you to reach the goals we have set. Third, and finally, strong national health systems are the right strategy for managing current and future health threats. Effective health systems have three key components that require sustained investment. One, infrastructure and technology. We need modern facilities within a reasonable distance of where people live. Two, people. That means highly skilled medical professionals as well as managers and administrators. Three, trust. Trust enables citizens to believe and act on health guidelines from public institutions and change their behavior accordingly. This is why community health workers have been instrumental in improving health outcomes in several countries, including Rwanda. Let me close with a final thought. Good politics and governance have everything to do with health. There is no substitute for building an inclusive, caring society. Citizens, both young and old, must see themselves as stakeholders with a future to look forward to. Health is about making good choices right now for benefits that may only be felt years later. In other words, a healthy mindset is a long-term one. Ultimately, this is what will enable us to win this fight against HIV and AIDS and build the resilience required to handle other challenges down the line. Once again, I thank you and wish you a productive meeting. I also invite you to stay here in our country for as long as you wish and enjoy. Seriously. And enjoy everything we may have to offer, but also to share with you. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that powerful call to action. Distinguished guests, dear delegates, we have come to the end of our opening ceremony, but this is just the beginning of ICASA. Over the next few days, there will be numerous meetings held, abstracts presented, and a variety of activities, including the exhibition, taking place at the community village. We trust that you will participate fully and enjoy your stay in Rwanda for as long as you want. You are I thank you all and ask you kindly to remain seated as our host and special guests exit the auditorium for a group photo. The following will be part of the photos: Excellencies, Heads of State, Excellencies, First Ladies, Heads of international organizations, ministers, Society for AIDS in Africa, board members. Thank you very much. Please allow me to remind you that those invited for the Africa Leadership Meeting will be heading to MH4 right now. Thank you.
abakomeje gukurikirana gahunda za televiziyo y'u Rwanda nk'uko mumaze kubikurikirana, ni umuhango wo gutangiza ku mugaragaro inama ya 20 mpuzamahanga ku cyorezo cya sida hanga ku mugabane wa Afurika ndetse n'izindi ndwara zandurira mu mibonano mpuzabitsina. Inama mu magambo y'icyongereza izwi nka ICASA ni inama ibereye ku nshuro ya mbere hano mu Rwanda, ikaba imaze gutangizwa ku mugaragaro na nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame. Umuhango wo gutangiza iyi nama nk'uko mwabikurikiranye kuri televiziyo zanyu ukaba witabiriwe n'abandi banyacyubahiro barimo Perezida wa Mozambique Felipe Nyusi ndetse n'abafasha b'ibihugu ku mugabane wa Afurika bagera kuri 6. Hari kandi umuyobozi mukuru w'ishami ry'umuryango w'abibumbye ryita ku buzima Dr. Tedros nawe uri hano mu Rwanda kuva ku mugoroba wo ku wa gatandatu. Iyi nama rero tubibutse ko izamara iminsi 5 ibera hano mu Rwanda, ikaba ifite insanganyamatsiko igira iti tugire Afurika izirana n'icyorezo cya sida, ahagaragazwa ingamba zitandukanye zatuma Afurika igera kuri ibyo ngibyo. Harimo gukoresha mu by'ukuri uruhare rwa buri wese, rwa buri muturage, community muri rusange, buri wese agatanga umusanzu we mu guhangana na virusi itera sida. Harimo kandi guhanga ibishya kugira ngo buri wese abashe kwigira kuri mugenzi we. Ahangaha hakaba mu by'ukuri ari naho Perezida Felipe Nyusi wa Mozambique yahereye yavuze ati igihugu cyacu cya Mozambique ni kimwe mu bihugu byo muri Afurika yo munsi y'ubutayu bwa Sahara cyugarijwe bikomeye na virusi itera sida, atariko mu by'ukuri twashyizeho ingamba zikomeye zo guhangana n'iki cyorezo. Ari nayo mpamvu twitabiriye iyi nama mu Rwanda, kubera ko amakuru dufite, imibare dukesha imiryango mpuzamahanga by'umwihariko ishami ry'umuryango w'abibumbye ryita ku buzima WHO cyangwa se OMS itwereka ko u Rwanda ari kimwe mu bihugu byabashije kugera ku ntego yiswe 90-90-90 mu kurwanya icyorezo cya sida. Ni intego isi yihaye bitarenze umwaka w'ibihumbi 2020. Ibi rero bikaba ari nabyo Perezida Felipe Nyusi yavuze ko igihugu cye nacyo gishaka kugeraho. Akaba yasabye ko utu dushya twose ibihugu bigenda bikoresha, by'umwihariko u Rwanda ibyo rwabaje gukoresha bikwiye kuboneka mu nyandiko, bikabikwa ku buryo buri gihugu cyifuza mu by'ukuri gutera ikirenge mu cy'igihugu nk'u Rwanda cyabashe gutera intambwe igaragara cyabasha kubona izo nyandiko kikagira aho gihera. Nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika nawe akaba yavuze ko mu by'ukuri nta kintu na kimwe muri politike cyangwa se mu miyoborere gikwiriye gusimbuzwa ubuzima bw'abantu. Akaba yavuze ko ubuzima bw'abantu aribwo bugomba kuba buri ku isonga, bityo ko guhangana na virusi itera sida ari inshingano z'abayobozi mu nzego zose. Agaragaza isi igerageza gukora, bishimangira ko urugamba rwo kurwanya sida ari ubufatanye, kubera ko yavuze ko sida ari icyorezo kitagira umupaka n'umwe. Aravuga ati rero urugamba rwo kurwanya sida ni urugamba rutureba twese nk'umuryango mugari w'abatuye isi, ariko aca akarongo cyane cyane ku bihugu byo ku mugabane wa Afurika, dore ko bigaragara ko abarenga 65% by'ababana na virusi itera sida mu isi babarizwa ku mugabane wa Afurika. Akaba rero ari ikintu gikomeye umukuru w'igihugu yagaragaje ko abayobozi b'ibihugu bya Afurika bakwiye gushyiramo imbaraga mu by'ukuri mu guhangana n'iki icyorezo. Muri make tukaba twavuga ko iyi nama igiye kumara iminsi 5 ibera ahangaha, ikaba izafatira hamwe ingamba z'uburyo isi na Afurika by'umwihariko yabaho nta sida ihari, nta sida iri mu baturage batuye isi n'umugabane wa Afurika by'umwihariko. Njyewe na Divin Uwaye ahangaha muri Kigali Convention Center. Muri iyi minsi yose televiziyo Rwanda ikazakomeza kubakurikirana imirimo y'iyi nama ndetse n'ikizayivamo. Ahandi twavuga tuti mukomeze kugira ibihe byiza aho muri munogerwe na gahunda zose televiziyo Rwanda yabateguriye.